Okay. Hello, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hassan Ali Khan and welcome to the Healthy Mind Chat and hopefully a new series of videos by myself under the title Life of a Miserable Medical Student. And if you're coming to this video, I'm sure you are interested in understanding what you need to do before you're going to university or college, wherever your part of the world you're in. I'm assuming most of you are in high school, or you're the parent of a high schooler, or whatnot. So, I've got a few things to say, and I'm going to tell you why I've got a few things to say. This is an unedited video. I don't have the time to really do a lot of editing, so please bear with me. I've got a few things to say. Hopefully, they'll be useful. The things I want to say is tell you why. I have a lot of things to say. Number 2, how do you make your decisions during going to university? Number 3, when you think about what you want to study, think about the bigger picture and roles in society. And then lastly, why you should not incur debt, and how is that possible in our times today? Meaning, how can you study, go to university and college, or gain some kind of career-led a career path without actually incurring debt, not death. That's not a good thing. Debt. And there's no more exciting time than now, I believe, to be able to study, because the world has changed. We are in post-COVID times. Okay. Anywho, without further ado, grab onto your tea. By the way, Yorkshire tea, lovely. Lastly, this is for people who want to study in the West, so America, UK, even maybe Europe, because that's my experience. I don't have any experience studying in India or China or some places like that, so I can only really tell you about what it means to study in America, in Europe, in UK particularly, and even maybe the Caribbean medical schools, but I'm not going to go into that a lot, to be honest. Anyways, without further ado, let us move into give you some context. So what is my academic journey? So, I am an Indian citizen, very, very important for you Europeans and Western citizens, Americans, who don't know the difficulty of being a non-Westerner. This is a very key point. I'm an Indian citizen, born and raised in the Middle East. That's where I did all my high school. We didn't have very good universities there and opportunities there, so the natural thing for a lot of us students is to go out of the Middle East to study. I started my university education in the UK. I went to a very top... That's not University College London. It's not in the US. It's in the UK. I need to change my life. Anyways, I'll need to change that. Anyway, it's top 20 university in the world when I still is. And then after that, I got into medical school because that's what I really wanted to do, become a medical doctor. And life happened. I couldn't complete the medical education, so I took my credits and I went to the Caribbean. Many other life things happened after that needed me to come to America. And the way I came to America is to do my master's at Northwestern University. Now, at this stage, I am still in medical school with the Caribbean School, nearly finishing it off. And I'm also at a community college doing a substance use counseling AAS diploma / degree here in Chicago, or outside of Chicago, I guess. All of this education is taking me 16 plus years. Not only that, I have studied, and in this time period I have lived in, I think, 11 countries. Yeah. 1, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, 7 countries. 7 countries, 11 cities. I've lived in 7 countries, 11 cities. in trying to pursue my career path, which is to become a medical doctor, life stuff happens, and if you're not a Western citizen, the price of mistakes, the price of not being able to, a misstep or a slip can cost a lot. Speaking about cost, I've just added some kind of prices of my education, and that's just tuition fees, rough ballpark figures of tuition fees that I've had to cough up in order to achieve some of this. This does not take into account travel, living, textbook, all of these things. None of that. It's purely tuition fees that I've had, that my parents or my scholarships had to support me through, and that is part of it. None of it. No, it's not the entire amount. So that's me speaking about the financial cost. There's a big individual, social, emotional, mental cost that goes into such a path. To give you an example, I'm a practicing Muslim. So for those of you who know this, I'm actually single and I'm 34 years old. So that's hard. Like, I'm at the stage where all my friends at the moment are pretty much married with multiple children. I don't have debt, but I know people who are in a similar situation as me have a lot of debt. What else have I paid? A lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. You probably can't tell because I've been using some kind of cream. It's not makeup, but I've acne. I'm not the most disciplined guy in the world. But life is tough. But I think I've got a plan. That's why I am doing what I'm doing. With that said, why am I telling you all of this? Is I've made a lot of the mistakes of going through an academic journey, and I really don't want you to make them, because this is not for the faint-hearted. It's definitely not for the ones who don't have enough money for it. And there are many different ways to achieve what you want to achieve in a much happier way. And I wish you to be happy. And this is also important for parents. There's nothing more important than your child's happiness. And if you are going to suggest a career path to your child because of some kind of attaining honor or family, whatever, tradition, and your child is miserable, don't. It is not worth it. You will lose your child. You will lose your relationship with that child. You will lose your world. And it's not worth it at all. No education is worth debt. No education worth unhappiness. And I'm not saying struggle. Struggle is important. It's part of life. But genuine unhappiness and misery is not it's not the goal of all of this journey. So, been there, done that. And what I want to say next is, how are you going to make your decisions after high school, especially for your academic career path? And that's a very, very important question. So, I, over time, have spoken to some great experts, gurus, and one of my main teachers taught me this. Make goal-led decisions. Be very, very clear of what your goal is. What is it that you want to achieve? And there, it's not just that. It's not just, oh, I want to be a doctor. Oh, I want to be an engineer. Oh, I want to be like, I don't know, Bill Gates. You then have to ask very, very important questions. What does that actually mean? First of all, why do you want to be a doctor? Why do you want to go into engineering or this or that, right? That why, or basically trying to figure out your purpose, if you go up this image, right, will give you more insight on the motivations of surrounding your goal. If you want to make money, if that's your goal, right? Or if you want to do a job and and when you ask yourself why you want to do it, it's like, oh, you want to make a lot of money. Well, then the job is not, or that career path or that educational goal is not your goal. Then is your goal is to make money. That is your main goal, and that will change how you start to make your decisions and what kind of path you go down. But ultimately, you want to achieve the goal for its sake. It's worth doing this because in and of itself this has value. So once you figure out your purpose and you've clarified your purpose of your goal and you've actually actualized your goal for its sake, then you have to specify your goal, right? It's like buying a car. Well, I want to buy a car. What brand? Oh, I want to buy a Volkswagen. Okay, what model or whatever type? Well, I want a Volkswagen uh, Golf. Okay, what year? Well, I want the latest year, 2020, 2021. Okay, do you want petrol, gas, or diesel? Well, I want a gas one. Okay, what color do you want? All of that, why, specifies what your goal. And as my mentor taught me, is the moment you're able to specify and almost more or less visualize your goal, you start to see your goal everywhere you go. You start to see the opportunities and the doors and everything related to that goal everywhere you go, because you have it so clear in your mind. So that's why you have to specify. With every goal, you also have to think about, okay, if I was to achieve this goal, what will be the consequences of this? Well, I don't have a lot of money and I want to go into medical school. The consequences will be debt. And then debt of so many years. And if you've taken a conventional loan or conventional education loan, your FAFSA, there will be interest on it. How much interest are you going to pay? By the way, for us Muslims, that's a no-no. I know there'll be scholars out there who'll give you some leeway, maybe. Again, there's no reason to incur debt for education, especially in the times that we live in. What are the consequences? Well, there's consequences where you can start your career path in based on the education that you've achieved, or you've achieved your basic bachelor's degree will give you something, but it could mean that it wouldn't be enough. So you may have to do a master's, or you may have to do a PhD in order to really achieve your career path. Consequences could be just, you can get straight into a job, but what kind of job would that mean? How much salary are you going to be happy with in the beginning of your ladder? What is the reality of achieving such a degree or such a certification, right? So you think through your consequences. There'll be good consequences, there'll be bad consequences. Once you're happy with all three of these, you've understood your why, you've understood your specifics, you understood your consequences, then you have to ask yourself, okay, if I want to achieve this goal, what needs to go in? What needs to happen? How much money, how much time, how much energy, how much support that you need, mental, physical, spiritual, right? Inputs that may go into it. Where are you going to study it? Can it be in state? Can it be out? Is it going to be out of state? Is it going to be out of the country? Do I have the right transportations or the availability to do this? So those are the other questions you need to ask. What's your goal? Does it fit your why? Is it specific enough? Are you happy with the consequences? Are you willing to accept the consequences, good or bad? And do you have a clear understanding what needs to go in, what needs to be put in to achieve your goal? Right? This is actually a very powerful image. It's not mine. This is my mentor's. I am pseudo borrowing it. He'll probably give me a bollocking afterwards, but anyways, I'll seek his permission afterwards. Anywho, so this is very, 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 very important. Don't go. So the reasons not to go into education and to college or university, because everyone is doing so. Stop. Don't be silly. Don't be silly. Just because everyone goes to university doesn't mean you have to, or college, right? Um, because you can achieve the same things in different ways. Um, and I can give you examples of that maybe later. But there's more than one way to skin a cat, and you have to think about, when you think about your goal, is there, are there different ways to achieve this? Actually, I'm going to give you the example now. Becoming a computer scientist, or a computer science or software engineer, a data analyst, all these especially the digital jobs nowadays, which are the most popular ones, and I hopefully will go into that in more detail. You don't need to go to university to go to them, or you don't have to go down the conventional bachelor's program in order to achieve the certifications and in order to be able to start your career ladder in those career paths. Um, you can do what's called boot camps. You can do free courses on YouTube to achieve the same knowledge um, in those degree programs. But you would only do that if you have the self discipline and the motivation and the clarity to do that. To parents, I'm not suggesting to your child don't study. No. If you don't study, if you don't have knowledge, you're not going to get anywhere. The question is, how are we going to acquire this knowledge, and are there better ways to do it, much smarter ways to do it, more efficient ways to do it than what's been told to us through the convention? We're not living in conventional times anymore, I would like to say. So think about that. Is there a different way to achieve the same goal? That's why I've got like different arrows going into the goal, because there could be different paths to achieving the goal. So yeah, that's important. I think I had some other things to say, but I'll probably remember it in a bit. Now, when you're thinking about the type of career you want to probably have in life, it's you have to think about the society that you live in. One of the great mentors I have some little time listening to. I'm calling him my mentor because I am. Dr. Hani al-Banna, one of the founders of Islamic Relief, one of the biggest charities in the world. He said to us in one student conference that imagine the world like a old wall, and from distance it seems it is it's uniform, it's upright, it's functioning. But when you come closer to it, you will find that there are gaps, there are cracks, there are whatnot. One of your jobs is to find the crack that you can fit in, and you can beautify and strengthen that wall. Society is made up of people doing fulfilling different roles in order for society to run functions successfully. Traditionally, we had farmers and landowners which would make our food. We needed builders to build our buildings, and institutes in our constructions, which later on became our factory workers who made all the products that we need to use. And we needed engineers and architects to kind of put their brains together to do all of that. We needed healers in all their form, doctors, nurses, therapists, and so forth, and everything to do with healthcare regarding healing. We needed artists to beautify our world, to tell us our stories, entertain us, design our stuff. It's not just having a product, but how do you make it functioning for our pleasure. People who make our clothes, they're designers. So we had these artists who were always there, We needed warriors, so people go into the military. Now that is now translated in sports, which is pseudo entertainment. But I think the motivations for lots of sports people is that they couldn't. They're fighters. They have something in them that needs to use up the energy in a certain way. We needed teachers to teach us everything. We needed traders, the businessmen, who are still very important, who allow for economy, for the economics of the world to function. Without the traders, the business and markets and economy won't exist. And lastly, where a lot of the jobs exist, even today and even traditionally, is the servant sector, or the bachelor class. People who are your accountants, your lawyers, your government politicians, people in the police, people who do the transport, the logistics, people who ensure that you are able to speak to one another, whether it's the post office, whether it's telecommunications. All of these, and even probably I'm missing a lot of other things, but are your traditional roles. As I'm saying this, I'm hoping that you can now imagine that what they look like in our times today. You, in your career path, will probably fit in somewhere here. And maybe you'll have a very specific niche role: management consultant, engineer, uh, architect, doctor. And you will specify what that is, and you become very specific, but you will probably fit in somewhere in this, within the circles that I've shown here. I'm mentioning this because this will help you, hopefully, in thinking about not just your degree as a degree, but what its role is in the greater society. And hopefully you can then understand that a human being is more complex than these circles. That you may have multiple interests, and that there are things where you can connect things together. You can be a healer, but you want to be a teacher. You can be an artist, but you also want to be a trader. You can be a builder or a construction worker, but you want to ensure that you're doing a service, or you're in the service sector, being a servant or a bachelor within the bachelor industry, not bachelor, butler, butler industry. You know where my mind is. So hopefully this will give you some kind of understanding of what these things are. Now, before I move on, and one thing to appreciate is that this world that we're talking about, us human beings are amazing. By the grace of God, have been able to make this whole world almost virtual. And this is where the digital world is coming in, has come in, has now established itself, especially we saw that during COVID, the essential need of the virtual digital world, and what that means in modern society where the jobs are at. Now, folks, again, there is no reason to incur debt in order to fulfill one of these roles nowadays. Know that you don't have to rush into education or into a career path. You don't have to rush into becoming a doctor. You don't have to rush into becoming a lawyer, right? What's more, there are certain things which are very, very important. Ensuring that you have security, financial security, mental security. You are starting with with some level of support, with mostly relationship support. That's very, very important. That's a valuable thing. Your relationships are very, very valuable. And you have to have clarity in what you are doing, and so that you don't have to make all the mistakes that I made. And I literally went into not knowing what I'm doing. And by the time I finished my first bachelor's degree, it's like, oh, I realized this is what it was. When I got into medical school, it took me late into the game to realize this. I had my goals not figured out properly, but that was too late because I did fail medical school, and all the journey that went after that, it was trying to undo that mistake. I'm still paying the price for that. Um, but most importantly, don't incur debt. Debt will ruin your life. Um, I'm not even speaking about the interest that comes up. Just the debt. In order to pay that debt, you're gonna have to work twice as hard to achieve less than half of what you deserve. Um, and especially in our days, you don't have to. The reason why is all that roles I spoke about, as I said, have become digitized and become there's a digital world. The digital world, when I say digital world, especially for parents who are not familiar with it, this is what I mean. Imagine our world that we live in, and imagine trying to create a virtual, and it's almost sci-fi, right? Turn that into ones and zeros, and turn that something into what can be done on the computer, what can be done virtually over the internet. This is my translation of what that world looks like, um, and where the jobs are. You will need people who need to create the certain platforms and build and maintain that virtual space. Those are your software digital engineers, right? Once you create that space, you then have to input information for that space to make any sense. The type of information you put in creates a certain type of world. If you put medical information in, it creates a medical world. If you put um, I don't know, law-based stuff in it, you'll have law-based world, right? And not only that, you have to not only put the information, you have to put it in a way that allows for easy processing, efficiency, and so on and so forth. Then there are people who make, once you put it in and the world is functioning, you need people who are able to translate, take the information after that, and analyze it. Um, and there are people and there are jobs that make this whole process look beautiful, they make it pleasing on the eye. And then you have people who protect this whole digital world, the security, connectedness. Then you have whole job sectors which help ensure that this world is accessible anywhere, wherever you are, and it's retrieval. The information is retrievable. And then where a lot of the new jobs are is trying to make this a human experience. AI, robots are into this. Now, just to give you an example, what kind of jobs I'm talking about is these. Your software engineer is an example of someone who makes the world, who builds the world. Data engineers and data architects are people who input information and make sure that the information is processed correctly. Then you have your data scientists, data analysts who take the information out of that digital world and analyze it and make it relevant to human beings. Then there are people, for example, who are called the user interface, user experience engineers, who are involved in making sure that the experience of this world is easy. It's user friendly. It's efficient. It's not. It's a natural experience. Also, website designers are part of this beautifying this virtual world. Very, very important roles as well. Then you have people who are cybersecurity analysts who make sure that your whole thing is protected, antiviruses, and so on and so forth. Then you have something called cloud engineers, which is making sure that all of this, your digital world, is accessible wherever you are. The people who make Apple, the iCloud, and the Google, whatever, right? All of that exists. And then lastly, you have to have your artificial intelligence engineers. These are people who are trying to make this whole digital world function by itself, as automatically, as if in and of itself it's a human being. What does that actually mean? I'm a non-IT person. I'm just giving you my translation of all of this. It may not be correct. Please go find it, but I'm just giving you my understanding of it all. The point of all of this saying, what I really want you to focus on is, if you want to become educated in any of these career paths, all of these paths have two different pathways. All of these careers have two different pathways. One is your traditional university bachelor's degree, where you go into a 3 to 4 year program. You can do some of these things online or in person courses. You may have to take what's called, if you're going to do a bachelor's degree, you'll have to take what's called gen ed courses, general education courses, which are not necessarily directly relevant to what you're trying to study. The benefits of going to university is that, as one my professor of my master's program said, congratulations, you've got the title of this university, which is quite a big thing in certain places. It's important, but at what stage, at what level, you have to ask, and and you have to balance the value of that. You also get access to the university services, the alumni programs, their journal papers, their facilities, and so on and so forth. If you want to be a lab technician and a lab scientist, that's very, very important. But if you want to be a digital scientist, like the jobs, is that really important? Well, we'll see. And obviously, university provides a well-rounded education. There is, because of the different courses you may have to take, and also the type of friends you make. There is a certain lifestyle, certain life to be a university student, and all the extracurricular activities that go in. I benefited a lot from that. I probably got involved with it too much than I should have. What are the cons of going to bachelor's degrees programs at university? Well, it's quite expensive. We're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars here, especially if you go to a private college, and if you're doing out of state or private university, that could be quite expensive. Now, if you're in the UK and if you're not a local student, then you're probably paying up to $9,000. If you're in Germany, probably much cheaper than that. But if you're an international student like me, you're coughing up your liver. So wherever you go, so that will be subjective to you and where you are. University bachelors are longer programs, 3 to 4 years, and at the moment, a lot of the big companies, your Googles, your Apples, your Teslas, are actually saying we don't really need this anymore. We don't need university degrees, because what they're really after is skill sets, and all of these jobs that I've mentioned up here have certain skill sets. These skill sets can be acquired in different ways, and I can see, as I'm showing here, is the boot camp and the certification programs. These are 6 months to 2 year programs, which can be done online or in person. They are certifications, which you can achieve for free or very, very cheaply through online courses, like Coursera or Udemy, and many other specifically data related, digital jobs related websites. They're shorter, they're a quicker route into the job market. Now, if you're not filthy rich and you're not paying money, right, this is quite good, where you can start to attain a certain financial independence very, very quickly. And what you can do because of it is start saving up. And once you have money, and if you're clever enough, money makes money, right? You will be able to then. By the way, you don't have to stick to these degree programs. These are just skill sets that you will have that can allow you to have certain financial security and allow you to then achieve another career path. So I know a lot of people who had different career paths, and then they saved up enough money and they got into medical school, and now they're doctors without having to incur the debt. That's very, very clever. The disadvantages to boot camps and certification programs is you don't have a college life. You have to be extremely, extremely disciplined to do this on your own. You may not have an extensive educational skill set, in the sense that thing at university is that they make you more analytical. They help you with your language skills and your articulation skills. But again, you can achieve a lot of that outside of university if you know exactly what you're doing. Um, and and overall, however, you have to realize with these digital jobs, they're giving you a certain skill set, but they're not necessarily giving you the real life based job. So you can be a digital architect or digital engineer who can input information, but the question of what information are you going to input? Well, you can be a generalized data engineer who then goes into a healthcare company, and the healthcare company will give you the healthcare information, but you personally don't have any idea what that information is about. You don't understand it. So if you're going down the certification route, you have skill sets, but you need other people's help in order to make this human. If that makes any sense. Um, so, but you have a very valuable skill set, and you can learn all the industry-based information and knowledge through working and whatnot. Or eventually, as I said, you save enough money, you actually go into a career path which matches the traditional job routes, and you become a knowledgeable in a certain in a certain in a certain role. Um, so, folks, I said a lot, and I actually spoke more than I wanted to. Those are a few tips of mine, I guess. So, as a summary, have goals and have clear goals. Ask your why. Ask your what specifically are you gonna be happy with the consequences of achieving that goal, and ask yourself what actually needs to go in to achieve that goal, and is there more than one way to achieve it. Secondly, know what kind of role you want to play in society. What kind of career path. If you don't know what that career path is, educate yourself and explore, experiment in a fail-safe way. Realize all the traditional roles are being translated into a digital way and digital role. The digital jobs nowadays provide an amazing skill set that can be which is almost becoming essential. Like if you don't know how to do coding nowadays, or don't understand coding, or don't understand what it means to create a digital world, you are going to be left behind very, very quickly. So I think in some countries, learning coding is becoming essential at school. So educating yourself and all that very, very quickly. I would say don't incur debt. Please don't incur debt. Find ways to get scholarships or get private loans where you don't have to give interest and they're reasonable, that you can pay back. Lastly, community college is actually brilliant. Don't let your ego or your pride get in your way, and it's like, oh, I'm going to community college. I think especially if you're a Western citizen, especially American or British citizen, take it from someone who's not a citizen, who has to cough up so much in order to achieve some of the basic education, because I didn't have those opportunities where I came from. Realize the value and the luck of the draw that you have of being an American or European, and that you have these options in front of you that give you some high quality education for free, almost for free. Community college does that for you. They are not to be looked down upon. And there are certain career paths you can just achieve by just going to community college. Within $3,000 to $4,000, you can achieve per semester. You can achieve so much. There are different ways. Lastly, I want to share this quote with you. If I can move this. This is advice of Gabriel to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Nobility is found at praying in night. So that's meditation and spiritual work and what's happening, the ethical work that you do, and having the principles and grounding yourself in principles and values. And having dignity is to be independent from all. Folks, this was some of the things you need to know before you go to university or college. Sorry for the haphazardness. I hope you enjoy. Subscribe to the Healthy Mind Chat, especially the YouTube channel, where I do a lot of interviews of people in the industry, health industry mainly, and speak about different topics as well. I do branch out. Hopefully there'll be more videos like this, speaking about life skills and stuff in the playlist called Life of a Miserable Medical Student. And until then, don't forget to say I love you to who you love, and keep on exploring. Bye. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you.